The Clash of Fate, Island of the Void. The island of Lodestar did not appear on any map. It was a jagged tooth of obsidian rising from a sea of perpetual fog. Dracule Mihawk, the man whose eyes held the sharpness of a hawk and whose blade could part the heavens, stepped onto the black sand. He was not here for fame or a duel. He had sensed a disturbance in the world's flow, a concentrated mass of energy that threatened to tilt the balance of the seas forever. On the opposite side of the island, a small boat dropped anchor. Shanks, the man whose presence alone could crack the timbers of a mighty warship, leapt onto the shore. His red hair whipped in the salt-stained wind. He adjusted his straw hat and felt the hum of the super energy ball vibrating through the soles of his boots. He knew Mihawk was already here. He also knew they weren't the only ones. The two legends met in a forest of petrified, leafless trees. The air grew heavy, thick with the invisible pressure of their combined will. Neither drew their steel. They were rivals of a sort, bound by a history of duels that had become the stuff of tavern songs. "You're late, Red Hair," Mihawk remarked, his voice as cool as the evening mist. Shanks laughed, though his eyes remained focused on the obsidian peak ahead. "I had a feeling you'd want to handle this yourself, Hawkeyes. But this energy, it's not something one man should hold." They reached the heart of the island, a temple that predated the written history of the world. The entrance was a void of darkness, framed by pillars carved with weeping eyes. As they stepped inside, the temperature plummeted. The sound of their footsteps was swallowed by the silence of the deep earth. They moved in perfect, unspoken synchronization, two masters of the blade heading toward the source of the heat that now scorched the air. In the center of the great vault, a figure stood atop a pile of ancient gold and rusted crowns. It was IMU, the shadow that sat upon the empty throne. In IMU's slender hands rested the core of sovereignty, a super energy ball that pulsed with a rhythmic violet light like the beating heart of a star. Shanks narrowed his eyes, his haki flaring. "The king of the world shouldn't be playing with toys this dangerous," he said, his voice dropping an octave. Mihawk did not waste words. He drew the black blade, Yoru, the metal singing a low, mournful note. The violet light of the core reflected in his gold, concentric eyes, mimicking the eerie patterns of IMU's own gaze. IMU didn't move, yet the shadows in the room began to crawl and coil like serpents. "This power was never meant for the likes of you," IMU whispered, the voice sounding like the rustle of dry parchment. "You are but gnats buzzing around a sun." The battle ignited in a flash of red and violet. Shanks moved with the speed of a lightning strike, his saber coated in a dark, crackling aura of haki. He lunged at IMU, the air screaming as his blade cut through the atmosphere. IMU didn't flinch, raising a single hand. A wall of solid darkness erupted from the floor, meeting Shanks' strike with a deafening boom that sent shockwaves through the temple. From the flank, Mihawk unleashed a vertical slash of such power that the temple floor split open. A massive wave of green energy, sharp enough to cut through mountains, raced toward IMU. The shadow ruler turned slightly, the core of sovereignty pulsing brighter. The violet light expanded, forming a sphere of absolute force that absorbed Mihawk's strike, turning the green energy into harmless sparks that rained down like dying stars. IMU raised the core high above their head. The energy ball began to expand, its light turning from violet to a blinding, abyssal black. The gravity in the room shifted. Gold coins and ancient crowns began to float, then disintegrate into dust. IMU was no longer just a figure in a robe. They were the center of a localized black hole, a god of the void preparing to erase the two greatest threats to the throne. "Now or never, Dracule," Shanks roared, his red hair standing on end as he unleashed the full extent of his spirit. Beside him, Mihawk gripped his sword with both hands, his focus absolute. They didn't need a plan. They were the pinnacle of their craft. As one, they leapt toward the shadow on the throne. The red lightning of a conqueror and the green light of the world's strongest sword combined into a single, devastating spear of light. The final clash began, and the island began to scream.